Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of PoCommunity. On this episode, we welcomed Ally Potel from Flyberry Events. We talk about her story where she journeyed from Paris, France, all the way to Vancouver, where she started up her business during the crazy times that we're living in right now. Check it out. Ally, how are you doing today? Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm great. Always great. You know, so living in paradise right now in this studio of ours. You know, but thank you so much for coming on our show. Why we invited you on the show, talk a little bit about yourself and your business. So tell us about Flyberry Events.
So I launched Flyberry Events actually during the pandemic, so 3 years ago. So you can imagine how tough it was.
We did the same. Yeah.
But now it's picking up, so it's really good. So Flyberry Events is an event production agency based in Vancouver. And so we do events for like all sizes, I would say. So we work with clients from large corporations to nonprofits to entrepreneurs in the fashion, art, or design industries. And we do also coaching. So we do event and wedding coaching and consulting. Meaning that we actually do virtual sessions with people who want to plan their events on their own, but just need a little bit of advice from professionals.
Well, that's awesome. What made you want to get involved in that and start your own company?
I would say that it's because of my parents, to be honest, because they are business owners, and I think I grew up with that in mind, you know, so it was the logical path for me to create my own company. But I think I definitely chose like a really complicated time to do it.
Obviously, like that's what I was just about to get into, is starting an events company during a time where you weren't really allowed to do events, as that sounds a lot like us opening up a community-based co-working space during a pandemic where they're saying don't go near people. Exact same scenario. So yes. we luckily decided to do it right before the pandemic, when the pandemic wasn't on anybody's mind. Did you actually start during the pandemic?
I started at the beginning of the pandemic because I guess like everyone else, I didn't think it would last for so long, right? So I was just thinking, okay, maybe I can have my own business and take my time to build it, you know? And I really thought it would take a few weeks, and then months later we were still in that state of this pandemic. So it was a little bit tough, but I would say that it gave me the time I needed to really build something that is, I don't know, something that I wanted. So
yeah, I guess there was a lot of like planning and making sure you did it right during a time that's like chaotic. It's like you wanted things to end, but it also gave you that time to build. And I guess once events and like things were open again to the public and people were allowed, there were number restrictions and all this, like floodgates were open for you, I guess, and it was like time to go, right?
Absolutely. And now it's full on.
Yeah.
So I could build a team and choose the events I wanted to work on as well. So it's actually good now.
Yeah. Is there certain types of events you love doing the most?
I would say that I started my career when I was, so I'm French, so I'm from Paris, and I started my career in the fashion industry. So I was planning fashion shows and all. So I guess that's the type of event that I love.
Yeah, nice. Do you do any of those kinds of shows here?
A little bit for entrepreneurs.
That's awesome.
Yes.
How long have you been out in Vancouver now?
So I've been in Vancouver for 5 years, 5 years and a half, I would say. Yeah.
A lot of changes here those 5 years?
Yes. A lot of changes, yeah.
Yeah, that's have you seen the craziness that's the world is right now, especially like just inflation, rise of everything. Have you seen that affect you in any way where it's people are a little bit trying to make less money stretch so far?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a big part of what I do, actually. So with the event coaching that I do, I work a lot on the budget of people. So usually people are reaching out to me not really to plan the event, but mostly to like to check their budget and see where they can save cost, because it's a big part now. Yes, people are very cautious about their money.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why we do the show and promote businesses and the people behind their businesses is the amount of money, like how it costs to live right now, the amount of money it takes. If people are going to go to certain businesses to spend their money, that's like a necessity spend, or or it's for something big and they want to spend that money. Trusting and knowing the person behind the business is huge now, because you want to really know that your money is going somewhere where you're not going to ever regret it. You're going to appreciate what those people do for you. So what we really want, like doing with this podcast, is getting to know the people behind their brands, because it's a huge thing now. I know as a business owner who opened during the pandemic, the amount of where we've had to place our money in certain areas and invest in certain places. We wanted to go multiple places, but like choose and pick and choose, and who we're dealing with and who we're working with is a huge part of our business now. Like and the relationships you build and stuff. So that's why we love having people like you on, business owners that can share their story and kind of just show why they're so passionate about what they do. Also, like you said, your parents were like business owners. That probably helped you out a lot too, having that, like business owners have different mindsets, and a lot of people, especially with our generation, with parents that were part of a generation that kind of they wanted the template of a life, you know, the family, the benefits, the job, making middle class wages, all that. It's tough to sell to those parents as business owners and entrepreneurs, like, oh, I'm going to throw all my eggs in this basket. And so tell me about that, like how much having that support from a family that knows how hard it is to build your business from scratch, how the support was from your family.
I think it's really helpful, as you said. It's really, really helpful to have your parents supporting you no matter what, you know, because as you said, they know what it takes to open a business. So they know that it's not easy, especially at the beginning. And I'm really grateful to have that support, because on the other end, I have people telling me, why did you quit your job? Why are you doing that? You know, you can have like a full-time job with like, I don't know, a big safety net or whatever, and you're doing that. You're just building your own company, but you don't know if it's going to work or not. So I think it's really, really helpful to have that support from my parents. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a totally different realm for people. You find when you start a small business, people that don't have their own businesses don't understand that it's literally like every hour of the day job. Like you have to put your all into it, and it can be mentally draining, especially during what we've all went through the last few years. And you starting your company, like I said, like we did, and it's if you can flourish now, if you made it through that pandemic, and you can flourish as a business now, and if you did well even during the pandemic, you're gonna succeed. If you can make it past, that was going to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest tasks any business had to go through that doesn't have billions and billions of dollars thrown into it. Like people that are throwing their own personal funds into their business, that's going to be even currently is the hardest times ever. So if we can make it out of this,
I agree.
Imagine what you can do when times are a little bit more normal.
I totally agree, actually. It was make or break, right? So it was the hardest thing that can happen for a business, I would say. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Did you feel like it went like 0 to 100? Like you one day you're like, oh, I need to bring in more events because it's been no events, and all of a sudden, as soon as the thumbs were up, like multiple people coming in at once, where you're a little overwhelmed.
Absolutely. It was, it has been insane actually for me, I would say, because so during the first year, I really didn't have any events. I mean, I had a few weddings, but really, really small. But I usually work on corporate events and things like that, so it wasn't happening at all, right? But I was taking my time. I was taking courses and everything. I was enjoying the slow down, slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then, yes, everything happened kind of all of the sudden. And I feel like at first I was just a little bit very surprised. I was very surprised that people still wanted to go out and still wanted to connect with others and still wanted to go to events. Even if at the beginning it was a little bit complicated because of all the rules around COVID and everything, but we made it through, and I'm really happy I made it through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was the hardest that can happen.
Yeah, I think we've noticed this a lot about corporate events are like people want them, they crave them. A lot of entrepreneurs are those extroverted people that love meeting with other business owners. When that was taken away from them, everybody was on Zoom doing that stuff. But I think it wasn't good for everybody. There was most people that are used to that face-to-face contact and just working around other people were going mad. They're going crazy. So we saw that too. The want of just events where it's just you don't even have to promote anything. It's just like a meetup of people, small business owners. It literally went from zero to just like craziness, and it was hard for us to manage. But if you're full of blown events, that's all you're doing. I could imagine it's just like you have a bunch of different people coming to you at once wanting your services, and you're like, oh my god, I literally felt like I was on vacation last week, and now
Exactly.
I can't make enough hours in the day.
Yes, it's absolutely that. I felt like, yeah, maybe I was a little bit on vacation or something. And when it happened, as I said, I was really surprised, but I kind of forgot how to work under pressure, because for an entire year, everything was so slow. But it was really good. It was good because I could build my team and everything. And I feel like I was ready. Everything was ready because I prepared for it.
Nice. So I'll go back to like what you said when you were in France. You're really passionate about like fashion. Have you tried to do more of that in Vancouver? Is there much of a fashion show community in Vancouver?
Not really.
No.
So it's so funny because I came to it. So before I left Paris, I was working for L'Oreal. So I was working in the beauty industry, quit my job, came here without a job or anything. So again, people were saying, you're crazy. What are you doing?
Most expensive place in the world. Let's go like.
But at the time, it was at the same level as Paris, I would say, for like, yeah, it was for the quality of life and everything, of living. But now it's insane. Yes, now it's very, very expensive. Anyway, so when I came here, I didn't know a lot about Vancouver. So I guess I was in my bubble, and I thought that everywhere in the world had this big, fashion scene. So I really thought that Vancouver had this big fashion scene like Europe. But obviously it's not. It's not the same because why would you care about fashion when you have all the landscape and the mountains and everything? Like, it's way better, actually, than fashion. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to help young fashion designers or emerging fashion designers to have a stage and to be seen. So I'm working a lot with them. So yeah, that's
So like helping them launch, like almost like pop-ups and stuff.
Exactly.
That's
yes,
pretty cool.
stores.
There's a lot of those those creator types and those like
Yes.
I mean, creating clothes is art, so it's like artists in Vancouver that are just looking for that stage and that help, right? We want to do stuff like that here, where we have our event space, showcase just different what people do, whether it be like music, art shows, open mic nights, comedy, everything. Like bring in all different types of events and different types of people into this place because it can really be a community hub for that. So yeah, that pretty much we are as we're a hub for small businesses to get themselves going and everything. That's a wicked step that you're doing if you're helping clothing designers launch and do these pop-up stores. It can really help them succeed and like go to the next step, right?
Yes, absolutely, and I do that for artists as well. So we can do pop-up art galleries or things like that. So I think it's really, really important to help emerging artists and emerging designers, because I feel like they are always forgotten, you know, and it's hard for them actually to really be seen. So
Yeah, the term "starving artist" is definitely a thing here. It's I mean, that's kind of my background is more the arts based, and it's to survive on that alone in Vancouver is pretty much impossible. You have to have I'll call it your side gigs. If you're looking at your art as your main gig, you have to have more side gigs than you work on your main thing. But it's there's so much talent here. There's so much unheard of and unseen talent in all industries in Vancouver. To be able to showcase some places is essential. Is there any places that you tend to throw your events at? Is there like anybody you want to shout out to that you usually have your events at?
No.
No.
I mean, what I do is that I really like to connect with the community. I really like to see new event places and things like that. So I have like, I don't know, a database of like 150 venues in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, they're all amazing. So I don't know who I can give a shout out to, but they're all great.
Do you do mostly just in Vancouver, the city of Vancouver? Do you kind of branch out into the Tri-Cities or anywhere else, Lower Mainland?
I mean, I'm happy to go to the Tri-Cities, you know. I'm here today. So I'm totally happy. But I feel like my clients are more in Vancouver right now. But if I have anyone in PoCo, I'm happy to help for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely spread the word out here. There's a ton of businesses that especially corporate events that are starting to happen out here for the reason that a lot of businesses sent their people to work from home, never brought them back. A lot of people that worked in Vancouver and had their business in Vancouver and went to events in Vancouver don't live in Vancouver. Vancouver is only so big. A lot of other people that are down there constantly live out this way. So it's like a lot more events and just stuff is happening closer to home for a lot of people, which is nice. It's very convenient. It's nice to be able to not always have to go into Vancouver for these people, because you always hear like it's nice when do you live in Vancouver?
I do. Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice that you made the time to come out here, because it was always like I have family in Vancouver, downtown Vancouver, or like even like West End, that we go down there all the time to visit. But if it's the other way around, it's like, oh, it's out in the boonies. We're like, no, right? But in reality, the amount of people that did that trek from this area on a daily basis for work is huge. So, like, that's another reason our co-working space, like, we had so many people that used to work in Vancouver that have ended up becoming members here, because working from home isn't for them. It's not for everybody, right? But I'd love to talk opportunities. If you ever are looking to come out here and you're looking for a venue for a lot, especially those pop-up shows and helping out local emerging just people in any field, definitely would love to talk to you more about that.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw our stuff. It's a very multi-purpose area.
Yes,
so it's perfect for those like 50, just about 50 to 60 people range, depending. But it's for little private events, definitely a cool spot for it.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing space actually for all of that. So yeah, I'm happy to connect again for sure.
That's awesome. Do you have anything coming up that you would love to promote that you're doing?
A lot of my events are actually private events. So what do I want to promote? There is a golf tournament that I'm planning in August 21st in Vancouver with the association ACG and also Business in Vancouver, the newspaper. Yeah. So yeah, if anyone wants to join.
That's fun. Have you done golf tournaments before?
Yes, I've done that. I find it's so fun. It's really fun, especially for an event planner, because the planning is all before. You need to coordinate everything. But as soon as people are in the golf course, then it's kind of, you can chill.
Breathing time.
Yeah, so I'm driving the cart and everything. It's really fun.
I guess it might have been like something easier to start off with too during the pandemic, because it was outside. There was a little less restrictions on having people at these events, because they didn't have so many restrictions that like a lot of indoor venues had to go through. It was very hard to staff those events. It was very hard to, whether it be just the rules, but a lot of the discrimination too. Like it was hard to be like if you had friends that were making certain personal choices, not allowing them into your event space or not allowing. It's just there's a
Yeah.
lot of headache behind it. So I'm guessing more outdoor events you probably started out with, right?
Absolutely. As you said, it was really complicated. All these rules were really, really difficult to follow because it was also changing quite regularly, right? So yes, outdoor events. That's all I was doing at the time anyway. I couldn't do any indoor events because yes, too complicated. And also, I had some venues who were asking, for example, let's say there was a wedding or something like that, and they were asking the couple to have a wedding planner who knows exactly the rules. But because the rules were changing so much, it was really difficult to keep up.
Yeah, yeah, and being an event planner for weddings, a lot of venues didn't want to give refunds. You could
Hmm.
might have all the rules would change. You couldn't have the wedding. You want to postpone it. Didn't have dates that worked. There was a
Yeah.
lot of headache that like as an events planner you would have to deal with because there's so many other steps. There's like if someone cancels a wedding, you have to deal with the venue, the flowers, this that. Like
Yes,
it's not just
everything.
one thing. So it's like it can be even the outdoor events could have been really really stressful at the time. It's hard to plan for anything.
Yeah.
But you pulled through. That's
Yes,
the
and you
biggest
too.
thing. And like, did you have like a lot of like people that booked you that couldn't use you right away, but like wanted to use you for an event, and we're like, okay, we want to get married, but we're not going to pick a date yet because of all these restrictions. And finally, like, you just had to go with it and do it right away once they go. It's like now's the time. There's no rules. Now's the time. It might be rules in a month. Let's go.
Yes, I had some people like that, but I have to admit it was really, really complicated to put up the event for them just because we couldn't really find a venue. Because, in 2020, they canceled all the weddings. So 2021 was fully booked and 2022 as well. So it was really complicated to then find all the venues for these people or the vendors and everything. But it worked out. But it was a lot of work, a
Yeah,
lot of work.
yeah. Is that like other than that? Like, what's your most fun type of event? Like, is there like certain ones you just love
Um,
working on besides fashion, but like fun events?
Fun events. I think a lot of corporate events can be actually really fun, especially team buildings or things like that. They are really, really fun. Christmas parties also, if it's for a big corporation, they usually have the budget to do a lot of activities or entertainment and things like that. So it's very creative. So I really love these kind of events.
How did you make all the connections you needed to make to like put all those things together for events like music, entertainment, whatever? Like there's so many catering, all these things. Like how did you come together with I guess either whether you're doing it all yourself or if you're outsourcing and just working with the same people, how
Mhm.
did you find those people?
So when I first arrived in Vancouver, I was working in a law firm. So I worked in a law firm for like 2 or 3 years, something like that, planning events. And I was the only one in the event team. I mean, there wasn't an event team, it was just me. So in the marketing team, I was the only one. So that's how I started actually connecting with the vendors. And then after that, I worked for a business in Vancouver who are now my clients, but I worked with them for a few years. And same thing, that's thanks to them that I connected with all these vendors. And when I decided to launch my company, I was just reaching out to a lot of people because, especially during COVID, I feel like a few businesses closed, right? So I needed to know who was still, working and who wasn't anymore. And yeah, so
Yeah,
that's how I connected.
a lot of LinkedIn.
Yes.
LinkedIn is the best tool, and I'd say we like in 2020, 2021. tons of seed planting is what we'd like to call it, just reaching out to people within just like the entrepreneur community, small business owners, anybody that really would work out, like just meeting and having a relationship with. We at first it was like, okay, it's not a waste of time, it's good we're making these connections, but is it actually bringing value to our company? And then all of a sudden 2020, I'd say 2022 hit beginning, and all of a sudden, all these people that we hadn't even talked to for a year or two started coming in, and because the normality and just knowing, like a lot of people like just normality and routine. So if you are working at your doing your job, or you have your own business, and then you had to move everything home, and you go home and you set up this office for yourself, and it's you hate it, but you had to do it, and you're working there, and you decide, oh, this isn't for me, but then you go to a place like here, like a co-working space, and then the government or whoever is making the restrictions goes, no, you have to work from home again. Nobody wants to be just be hit by that brick to the face. Like, you have to do this again and move your whole business to do it back home again. So we had a lot of that where people were like, finally, it seems like it's done. It's normal. We won't have to move everything again. Let's be part of this community. So yeah, it just seems like a lot of people that started up. I've talked to a lot of people that have started their business during the pandemic. Like it seems like we're talking to you. It seems like we're like one in. There's not many. Like, who's making this decision of doing that? There's a ton, and a lot of it was to do with people losing their jobs, and then having a passion or a side hustle they always had, but realizing, okay, this is my time to do that, because it's not like I can go find work doing what I was doing before for this company somewhere else, because they're all getting laid off too. Why don't I just try this for now? And then when things get normal, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But so many people started, and a lot of them flourished because of it, just because you finally had the time to put all your thoughts and all your passions into one not one thing, but one what you want to do.
Yes.
So like, did you always know it was going to be events? Did you always just have this, you wanted to work at events, or was there any other kind of passions that you thought about in the pandemic that's like, maybe I'll try this as well?
No, I always wanted to do events for as long as I can remember, and that's exactly what you describe is exactly what happened to me. I lost my job. My husband lost his job as well, and I was like, no one is going to hire me because the event industry is like shutting down, you know, so no one is going to hire me. So that's why I decided to launch my own business. But at the same time, you know, as we said, during the first year especially, nothing was really happening. So I thought about maybe do something else, but I have no idea, because I really love my job. I love what I'm doing. I love connecting with people, and I was sure that it would come back, you know. So I don't know what else I could do if I wasn't doing events. I have no idea.
It brings out your creative side when you have to think on the fly and change things. And like, even if you're passionate about something, it's not the norm, and it's not the ordinary plan. It's not you had to change to basically succeed and continue, because you, like you said, you didn't know what they were going to change and all the restrictions and everything in that industry, especially. You're not the first event planner I've talked to, and all of them, like every one of them says, like, it's just, that was the biggest headache, especially if you have staff, you have all this stuff, and you've paid them for months ahead of time to do this stuff for you, or like plan a certain event that all of a sudden you can't do. And that's literally money flushed down the drain for so many people. And that what really is brutal for the like business owner is that, like, if you've done nothing wrong and then something like that happened, and now you have to go out of your pocket or something to pay back, or you don't want your business to basically suffer or get bad talk about it because of something you had no control of. And that's risky on the business sense, on something that you do, right? Like, events can be really personable to people, or personal, like weddings essentially, and more other ones, but really personal. So if it looks like from the outside that, oh, like, you messed up, even though it has nothing to do with you, Like that's rough on businesses, right? It's super rough.
Yes, I think I was really lucky that I was on my own and I was taking my time and everything because, yeah, I've talked to so many people in the community, so many event planners who were, and especially wedding planners who were struggling because, as you said, they needed to refund their clients and everything, but they did nothing wrong. And at the end of the day, yeah, they were paying out of their pocket from time to time and everything. And I think it was really tough for these people.
Yeah, very tough. Well, thank you so much. I can see the passion that you have for what you do, right? So that's always what I want to see is just like when you seem like you just love what you do and you care about who your clients essentially. That's huge to me. So for people to get a hold of you, where can they find you? Your social media and your website?
Absolutely. My website, flyberryevents.com, and social media as well under Flyberry Events. I share a lot of tips on event planning and everything on LinkedIn. So if anyone wants to follow me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to connect.
Awesome. I'll definitely put that in our description for the podcast. And thank you so much for being on today, Ally. I loved having you on. And if there's any more talks you want to have about bringing your business out this way, definitely we can talk about that too, because we want to make this place a Tri-Cities hub for events. Mm-hmm. We believe it can definitely happen, and we have a really good community around here, so there's a lot of people you could probably talk to about bringing your business out this way. So
amazing. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for being on. And thank you everybody for watching or listening to our podcast today. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well as like and comment on this podcast because it was a good one with Ally Potel from Flyberry Events. Thank you. Have a good one.